All right, thanks, Michelle. As we continue with the Freedom Day celebrations, or every event that's going to be happening throughout the country this morning and throughout the day, the world of sport is also doing its bit, and we're focusing on cycling this morning. That's going to be happening at different parts of the country, and I'm joined in studio here by Buhle Madlala, who is a co-founder of the National Cycling Academy Foundation. Buhle, thank you so much for your time. We're going to be chatting about what's going to be happening, and you'll tell us where all those cycling events are going to be happening. 27 kilometers for, of course, 27th April.
Yes.
And it's been 27 years since the dawn of democracy in South Africa. But first, tell us about NCAF, what it stands for and what you guys are all about.
Okay. So NCAF, the bulk of our members are affiliated clubs in rural areas and in townships that belong to the Cycling Federation. We started to formalize ourselves in 2016 because we saw the need to just empower ourselves in our communities around cycling. So 27 years, we know that in '94 we voted, but there was really a blackout when it comes to cycling in our communities. So we ultimately are clubs that are working from a vacuum, because there were policies and laws put in place for us not to have cycling in our spaces. And it's not organically going to happen if there aren't laws that are put in place now to redress how the sport should be structured and governed in our spaces. So we have basically been trying to collaborate with the Federation, because we understand they are the custodians of the sport in the country. So we've gone through to them and have said, listen, we are sitting in your structures as clubs, as event organizers, as team managers, and yet it doesn't seem like you guys understand what our needs are at grassroots level. We have formalized ourselves as development clubs, and we want to affiliate. So we've actually sent 2 membership affiliations to the Federation to say, let us become the development wing of this sport, because we come from these communities. We are in touch with the issues on the ground. We understand how our clubs formalize, how they form, and we have proven that we can do the job, because, I mean, we've got an entire ecosystem of us. We've got event organizers. At the moment, we are able to just do rides, because we can't do races as yet, because there are quite a number of issues that restrict us in doing our own races in our own spaces. So we are almost 40 clubs, well, a little bit more now, that are now affiliated to NCAF.
Because I was going to ask you about the interest, because it sounds to me like it's more about casting a spotlight on cycling in the townships and rural areas. And the interest in those places, whether you actually have
the numbers.
And if you say 40 clubs plus.
It's plus 40 clubs. So actually today I'd like to thank the leadership of all the academies, because as NCAF, when we heeded the call and said, guys, it's 27 years. I think for us this year was particularly important. 2 of the biggest cycling events happened. So the African Track and Road Championships in Cairo, in Egypt, as well as the National Road Championships in Swellendam. There was absolutely no black representation, well, not significant enough for the numbers that we know exist in on the ground. And then we felt, no, we need to amplify this message more. So today, this morning, we've got activations, races rides in Khayelitsha, we've got races in Umtata, we've got Mahikeng, we've got Mamelodi, Hammanskraal, Emlazi, Kamashu. So clubs have really come out and said, we are blacks, we are on bikes. We will flood the social media and show people that there are blacks on bikes.
And is this all for the Of 27 kilometers.
It's for the 27 kilometers, because for us to make this message come across, 27 Ks is not a lot. Anyone, new riders, our allies, people that want to take on cycling seriously, can ride with other professional riders and just do 27 Ks to symbolize that we can't be in a blackout after 27 years. Especially a sport like cycling. If you think about the physiology of just black people, we know that when it comes to endurance, marathons and all of those, it's black people naturally just excel.
Also, we've been cycling forever.
Yes, we've been cycling forever. We know our grandfathers, grandmothers get on the bike and they work in town, and that's the mode of transportation. And that's the biggest problem, is that cycling is not understood. So government has put a lot of money into cycling development, yes. But because the sport is not exposed, so they don't understand what cycling is. It's not just two wheels. The programs that they have been supporting, those are mostly commuter bikes. Those are not sport bikes. Yeah. So there's a distinction, there's a difference. So for someone who just wants to get on the bike and cycle and go anywhere, yes, government has been giving, the big guys like Kubega have been donating, but that's not for sport.
That's just for me to get to work or get to school.
Work, you know what I mean? If you take the Kubega bike that's been donated and you take the sporting bike, there's about 7 kilograms difference, firstly.
And when you talk about government having donated or put money into all of that, it's not cheap.
Yes.
This sport.
Yeah.
Because you need the right equipment, as you say. I mean, there's helmet, there's the
kit,
you know, and the right bike, as you put it.
Yeah.
How do we get around that? Because there's always this thing of sport like cricket, for instance. Also, one of the reasons we've struggled to get it transformed in the country is that the equipment is not just easily available to kids in the townships. It needs you to put an effort into it, unlike football, for instance, where
it's just a soccer ball and you need
so how do we get around that?
Okay, so for us, we believe that the support that government has been putting, had there been proper grassroots development programs, we could have built on and built up an ecosystem or an enterprise in our spaces that will support the sport, if you know what I mean. I think you would remember when you were younger, and everyone will tell you about having a BMX bike.
Yes.
You have a BMX bike, Becky. I mean, Benji has a BMX, and us who don't have. You didn't. You know what I mean? So us that didn't have bikes, we would pay 50 cents to ride your bike.
Yes.
You remember? So there is already a foundation on how we can overcome the challenge around funding, you know, around supporting ourselves. Now what is happening, our academies in the township, so because there is such a huge interest that has developed, there's a tourism part of it where people are able now to take people around as tourists into the townships. They pay them money. So you find that our riders are supporting their careers by becoming either township courier services, where they get hired to courier parcels into different spaces. There you're finding they get paid so they can support the funding of the sport, and they can also get paid, and they can also get additional practice. So ultimately what we're saying is, because there is no ecosystem, you know, the mechanics in the township, we need to fix our bikes. We can pay a mechanic and we can grow the sport. There's entry-level bikes that you can get, you know.
So how far are we then in making sure that there is enough professionalism around the sport in the townships? Because I think that we're some way away from that at the moment, because we're still trying to get kids cycling in the right equipment and everything.
Yeah.
Are we getting the right numbers into the professional spaces? I mean, we'd like to see...
There are a lot of professional black riders, the problem is there is just too many barriers to entry. I'll tell you one example. So Benji starts cycling, and Benji is quite good in cycling. So he rides with the team in his community. When then he wins and he goes on to podiums, in order for him to be selected, he would then be required to belong to a club that is affiliated. Where are the clubs that are affiliated? In the more established areas. So what do you do with the guy that you find from the township that you unearth? You're not going to parachute him and take him to Bryanston so that he rides with the club. But then he doesn't then qualify to get a racing license because his club that he belongs to is not in good standing. Do you understand? Absolutely.
Quickly, we're out of time.
Yeah.
The events that are happening today are in which areas?
In which areas? So we are countrywide. Umtata, for example, they are in. They're starting at the Shell Ultra, going to Vigisville in Khayelitsha. They're starting at Khayelitsha Cycles. In Umlazi and Guamashu, there's a race there. Mahikeng, Mamelodi, Hammanskraal. So all over. Blacks are on bikes.
Are you getting onto your bike from here? Not just yet.
Not just yet.
Okay.
I still have.
I haven't cycled in about 27 years. So I think I'll also park it for next year.
Yeah.
Tell me in time.
In time. You need to. It's wellness, it's fitness. Everyone is getting into
absolutely,
it right
absolutely.
Now,
Buhle Madlala, thank you so much for your time. She's the co-founder of NCAF, which is the National Cycling Academy Foundation, and she came to talk to us about the plans for Freedom Day and, of course, what we still need to do in as far as cycling is concerned, some way of getting the sport popular as we'd like in the townships. That's